So we finished the previous verse with how God was blessing Isaac. He became very wealthy, and it led to problems. So we are, as you know by now, recording all of this here in near Kalor, right? And although this is not the nicest time of the year to come here, because for how it all looks like and the smog and everything like that, it's not as green as in or after the rainy season. But still, this is the season for strawberries. So a blessing here is to be able to eat the strawberries, and they are like just over $1 for about a kilogram of it. So if you want to come in this time of the year, at least, and maybe you don't see the beauty so much, but you get cheap strawberries, and they're very good. Verse 14. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. So God blessed him, he became rich. It led to envy from the locals. Well, they are under the king's protection, but envy you can't protect against. Verse 15. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abram, his father. So how did this envy, how did they see that this envy played out? By trying to destroy the water that will ultimately, say, feed the flock or water or whatever what is sowed, right? Again, you get rid of the water, you get rid of where he then can feed his livestock, and then he will become poor, kind of like him. Okay, I will never forget, and as well saw this play out there in Russia. We were on this raft trip with a bunch of kids from an orphanage, and we gave them all balloons. And then one's balloon burst. One of the older boys' balloon burst. And his reaction to that was, instead of being happy for the others who still have balloons, he went and he burst all the others' balloons as well. He didn't want any to have balloons if he's now burst. So this is kind of what is happening here. Right? If we don't get this, then we will stop where he get his blessing from. And we've seen that these are, in this text stated that this is the wells that his father dug before. And we will remember from chapter 20 is Abram did dig a well, and then the people did try and destroy it, and then Abram did mention this to Abimelech, and they made a covenant. Okay, so now actually we see this whole thing that happened with Abram and Abimelech is happening here. But there's a difference now what in Isaac's reaction to this and Abram's reaction. Abram's reaction was then to tell Abimelech about this. What the heck is going on here, kind of idea. What is Isaac going to do? Timid Isaac, like, let's go move to another place and go duck there. There, fight again. Let's move to another place. See, a total different kind of reaction. So we see the differences in personalities here as well. Later on in this chapter we're going to see actually that Abimelech sees Isaac as very strong. Okay, so he had actually, from a strength point of view, no need to. He could have just told Abimelech and we dug. I mean, he was as well under the protection of Abimelech. Abimelech is not supposed to touch this guy. But Isaac didn't. He left. So, verse 16, and Abimelech said to Isaac, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. Okay, so there again, see, Abimelech said, I'll protect you, nobody else will. He saw that this is leading to envy. He didn't want to address the envy of his people, so it was easier for him to get rid of Isaac. He ultimately forgot about the covenant that actually his father or maybe grandfather made with Abram. And So now he is chasing Isaac away. And Isaac is just going to move away. He's not going to remind, for example, Abimelech of this covenant that his father made with either his father or his grandfather, whoever, right? He's not going to say, but this is the well that my father dug. You need to solve your problem. This is not my problem. He is not doing this. Okay? Abram would have done this. Isaac didn't do it. Verse 17. And especially since Abimelech said that Isaac, as you can see from this, because you're mightier. I mean, if Abimelech saying that he who is Isaac is mightier than them, so you could kind of then imagine that Isaac could have said, oh, since I'm mightier than you, then, solve your problem. That's not my problem, you envy. But yeah, he's been lying about his sister, his wife, and all those kinds of things, so Isaac's not going to do something like this. Isaac is not Abram. Verse 17. So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. So Isaac left another valley, settled there. Verse 18. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abram his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abram. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. So here he comes, there's wells that his father dug, he opened up the wells again, he gave them the same names, and then there's this explanation that these wells, after the death of his father, were covered by the Philistines. This just raises another question. Okay, if we look at Abram living 175 years, and then Isaac was 60, so in other words, when Abram died, Isaac would have been 75 years old. Okay, maybe 74, close to 75. Okay? So, his sons were born when he was 60. And this means that if Abram was now dead, then his sons must have been, or at least Abram saw his sons. So if his sons, if you follow this timeline, then by the time Isaac went there to the land of the Philistines and this drought happened, it must have been then logically after the death of Abram. As we see, these pits have been, the wells have been closed up after the death, and so therefore, since Abram was alive at the birth of his two sons, Isaac's sons, Jacob and Esau, that then would imply that by the time they went to the land of the Philistines, that Rebekah already had the boys, and that they were already, well, at least 15 years old, but most likely more than that. Okay? And then one can as well ask the question of, where is the sons? Now, if they are at least or more than 15 years old, then yes, they might have been, even maybe not with him, or they might have been with them, but they're now grown, and so people might have known they're just boys, their kind of idea, not knowing. Okay, they were not interested in the sons, they just were interested in the beautiful girl. So they see the beautiful girl, they're not thinking about, oh, she has sons or whatever. Okay, not asking the questions, the eyes go big, kind of, before you ask anything. Right, so it is therefore not logically impossible that all of this happened, therefore, in this order. At least this is how the Bible clearly states it happened. What I've read from other commentators, scholars, is that they feel that Abram wasn't really 175 years old when he died. It's just a number thing, again, a symbolical number. So he died before the sons, and then this story happened before the whole Jacob selling his birthright, right? And because of what would the people in Philistines thought about Rebekah and the sons, etc., etc. Now, I think I'll just give you an explanation. If they're already in the late, if not in the early 20s, because we don't know how old or how long after Abram's death did they close up the wells. So we don't know exactly, but at least it would have been 15, and in those days that would have been counted as already grown. So so the boys, Abram would not have just been there with Isaac would not have just been there with his wife Rebecca and the 2 sons. They would have had servants as well, so there would have been lots of people. And if the people just see, they would not have thought that maybe these are their sons. And so therefore still they could only see the beauty. That just raises the question then again, so how old was Rebecca? In Sarah's case, we clearly knew how old she was, and even at that very advanced age, Abram thought that she is beautiful, not just the husband, but Pharaoh thought so as well, Abimelech thought so as well. But we don't know how old Rebecca was when she got married. We know how old Isaac was, 40, but she could have been in her teens. Okay, and so therefore, if this is 20 years later, she's still in the middle, maybe late 30s. So yeah, all of these things are possible to have happened in this sequence as it's written down here in the Bible. There's no need to then have to be forced to draw the conclusion ultimately that Abram must have died not at 175 years, and that's just a symbolical number. I mean, a symbolic number. It's a symbolic number out of nowhere, or does a symbolic number becomes a symbolic number because of things happening? And that's as well an important question to ask. If I can just quickly digress a little bit on the idea of numbers. I remember how my father used to say that in cricket, Nelson, the 111. That they're always so afraid. People watching the cricket, they will lift up their legs there in the stadium, whatever, so that hopefully that will help the person from not being out. And yes, sometimes people are out in the number. My father just said, if you look at any random number, 78, well, he actually said 89, then you will find that even more people are out on that number than in 111. But nobody is paying attention to that. They're only paying attention to this one. So in other words, where do we the symbolism, to get back to then that question, the symbolism or the number, was the number first that Abram did die at this age and then they started using it as a symbol, or was it a symbol and then they just now putting it on to Abram? We don't know exactly which one came first. I believe that he died at 175, as is stated here. It might have been a symbol as well at the same time, but that does not mean to say because it is a symbol that it can't be an actual date as well. It can be both. Okay, so Isaac then redug these wells, and we gave them the old names that the father gave as well.